in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome to another episode of The Cocktail Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Aggie, and with me as always is the ever suave, affable, and quaffable co-host, Brad Slager. How are you doing this evening, Brad?
We are doing pretty good, I'd have to say.
Hey, Brad, I think it changed a setting when it kicked you out because it doesn't sound like you're coming through your usual mic.
You said I sounded good earlier.
Well, I didn't catch the background noise till just now, so I don't think you're actually coming through your mic. At least not your usual one.
No, I'm not. I'm on my phone. I thought I came in clear.
Ah, okay.
Oh, I can hear you.
That explains it then. It works well enough. I just thought maybe a setting was wrong.
I have to vacate earlier, and I didn't know how mobile I'd be with Restream, so I'm starting here.
I mean,
Okay.
at least you're not lisping, so there's that.
Okay. So anyway, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Very busy. So much going on. So much activity in the world.
Yes, I know that you've been very busy writing column after column and doing your Substack as well, which is a great satire, by the way. And it has the news cycle has not slowed down, I have to say.
Yeah, there's a bit of consistency going on, I think. It's just perpetual, constant, all that nonsense. But
yeah,
it's,
yesterday was a Red Banner Day, wasn't it?
I heard. I didn't listen, but I heard about it.
I did. I actually managed to get on, and I listened to a rather pleasant conversation. I was expecting an interview, and I was pleasantly surprised and very happy not to find an interview.
Yeah, from what I heard, everybody was one, surprised by the format, and two, more surprised at how good Donald Trump appeared with this format. Where it as casual, as calm.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't as antagonistic.
Yeah, he was.
And I think he plays much better off of somebody as opposed to getting on stage and just ranting for 90 minutes. When he has an exchange, when somebody else can throw different ideas at him and let him go down new avenues, that helps him out. The guy can use some guardrails, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think we've been saying that for years.
So yeah,
And
this kind of thing is good format for him because again, it's Elon Musk, so he's effectively with somebody you can consider to be a peer. So he is, willing to listen, willing to give him some airtime as well. It's not just him, and he's steamrolling somebody.
But, one of the things that I did find very interesting about it was that it wasn't a conservative conversation. It was a conversation about ideas, how to move the country forward, how to exemplify the current freedoms that we are supposed to be enjoying that seem to be curtailed somewhat, the dangers that we see from illegal immigration, things of that nature. But it wasn't about, a lot of people were saying, well, this wasn't very conservative at all. And I was like, I don't think it was designed to be conservative. I think it was designed to just talk about things that needed to be done. And in that respect, I think that they managed to do a really good job.
Yeah, and if you look at the two that are involved, you've got a former president and you've got a titan of industry that have national interest in mind, aren't necessarily ideological, even though everybody's going to say it is. But it's, interesting because these are two movers and shakers. These are guys that are involved. They're plugged in. They're part of the process. So that's the kind of voice you want to get opinion about. So
yeah,
I didn't see a
and
problem.
It was.
But meanwhile, the press had a problem, which cracked me up no end.
I think the media had a problem because they knew that this was going to be a very large audience. This was going to reach out to a lot of people that normally would not have tuned in. And I think the reason for them tuning in was out of curiosity, but a lot of people just stayed on. I mean, when I got on, they had 1.3 million people listening on X. And that was, that was huge. I don't remember people getting on and being in the millions, to listen to something. I've seen 5 figures, yeah, but nothing like that. So I think we lost Brad again.
No.
You lost me?
No, there you are. Okay.
He's there.
So I wasn't sure. I couldn't hear anything. I have been listening to you like shuffle things around and fixing your drink and blah blah, and I'm moving around and all of a sudden it's dead quiet, and I'm like, oh no, we lost him again.
Oh. Apparently, I don't have noise canceling earbuds.
So yeah. So, but no, it was really interesting, and that was just on X. There was, this was broadcast in other channels as well, and people were tuning in through other social media sites, and the media is just not very happy with this. And one of the complaints that they have is that this was a contribution, and it's illegal for them to do this and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but Musk literally invited Harris to do the same thing, and Harris said no. So by law, he went by the letter of the law and invited both. One said yes, one said no. What are you going to do? You can't cancel the guy that says yes because the other guy said no. You can only invite,
Interesting, you don't hear the press saying that Kamala Harris was chicken.
No, you don't.
Which was their talking point when they were still kicking around debate parameters about a week ago.
Yeah, well, I'm just like I had a like I said, I had a lot of fun listening to it. I got to hear two gentlemen, talking about back and forth about the state of the world, the state of the country, the state of the states, the state of you know the culture, the politics, the finances, economy, all of this stuff. And they were just going back and forth. It was very comfortable. It didn't seem scripted to me. And I think that was another thing that the media absolutely despised about this whole thing. It wasn't scripted.
Well, there's probably a number of issues that the media was mad about. One, simple fact that they went around the media or above them or past them. They didn't involve them. So that was anger. The amount of attention it drew was huge. Like by the end of the night, I think they totaled out at least 3 million people had actively listened,
Mm-hmm.
at least directly. But they were making this available outside of Twitter as well. So people on other
Yes.
platforms could access their discussion. So just for instance, the Quartering, a good entertainment right of center outlet, I think they were running it on their Twitch channel. And that one alone, I think they clocked in with over 100,000 listens just on that alternate. So just consider how many were doing this and how often it was going up at that level. And Elon Musk said too, with people that either engaged directly with this or got reported on it. I don't know how he got the figure, but he thinks over 1 billion people had some kind of involvement with last night's discussion.
Yeah, the impressions are there, the ticker, the ticker is there, the views, the listening, all of that, congregating to almost 1 billion impressions, and you're like, and of course, everybody's saying, well, there's only 8 billion people in the world, and where do you think nobody outside of the U.S. was listening to this? And I'm like, you want to bet? Maybe not China, but I can guarantee you there were people outside of the US listening to this. How do I know? Because I have a friend in Argentina who was listening to this.
Oh.
So, and not to belabor a point, but there was a time when he didn't get a lot from X because the previous administration in Argentina tended to censor a lot of the videos that were coming through X, with the whole copyright crap, that kind of thing. Well, they're not having that issue anymore. And so he was able to listen to the conversation. I don't want to say it's an interview. I want to say it's a conversation because that's pretty much what it was. And, and he told me he wasn't the only one. And I'm very sure that there were other people in other parts of the world that were listening to this.
Well, I know for a fact they were listening in Europe.
Oh yes,
The,
Terry the twat.
is that his name? I wasn't sure what the translation.
Goodness, yeah. Everybody's saying it's Theory, and no, it's Terry. That's how you pronounce her name, Terry. But yeah, this whole thing about telling, oh, you have to stop that. We can't allow you to do that. I'm like, what? It's not even in your country.
Yeah, what was it? Are they like a secretary? What was their position with the EU?
I'm not sure because a lot of the positions there in the EU are kind of nebulous. They're mostly made up simply because they can be.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's all bureaucratic title.
Yes, it is exactly that. But apparently, Terry the twat was expounding on you might be in violation, so you cannot have Trump. And I'm like, first of all, this is not your election. So technically, by telling us what we can and cannot listen to, you're interfering with our election system. 2, it's not a European Union corporation, it's an American one. 3, the onus is on you to actually block it from the European Union if you have, the balls. And I know that they don't, because they would have done this long time ago. Now you see there's a huge crackdown in Great Britain with the social media posts. We just recently saw a clip of a judge handing down a sentence to a man who had posted on Facebook that he did not like that his tax money was going to illegal immigrants. That's what he said. He's getting 20 months in jail. The reason he's getting 20 months in jail, because he actually pled guilty. Had he not pled guilty, he would have gotten 5 years.
Jeez.
That's how ridiculous it is over there. And if you think it's only Great Britain, it is not. It's just starting to vomit. It's starting to blow up in Great Britain. And believe me when I tell you that is going to seep into the rest of the countries. I mean, there's Poland has decided, no, we're not having any of this. We were behind the Iron Curtain. We are not having any of this shit. There were a bunch of Muslim immigrants that were rushing one of the border points. Poland opened fire. They opened fire on these people. They took off. And they did not come back. And I'm like, why can't we do that here? Oh, yeah, that's right. We have laws. Damn it. We should have the Polish laws. Those were good. But yeah, Poland, Hungary is fed up with it. And what do they get for their trouble? They're being called racist and phobic, Islamophobic. And yeah, they don't care. They're absolutely happy being called that as long as their borders are closed.
See,
and they're
this
the
is
only ones that
something
are not
they want-
having this crap going on.
They want to step on expression and liberty over there. I mean, that's what the EU is all about. But Great Britain, that pulled out of the EU, is still doing the same shit. So this guy goes to jail for social media posts. I mean, that's unthinkable in this country, at least right now. And I don't know if you see that video. I don't know what this guy's position was, but some cop over there was dictating, you can't say this stuff. If you do, you're going to jail. And it's not just in Britain. If you do this on any social media, no matter what country, you're going to be responsible. Like, what? You're going to extradite me from the United States for calling you a jackass? Not going to happen, dipshit.
Well, apparently that's what they're threatening to do. Some police commissioner over in Great Britain has decided that, yes, we could get extradited for the things that we say. Hell, the entire police website has blocked every single IP from North America. And I'm like, okay.
Then how are they even going to know in the first place?
And I'm like, yeah, this is what I don't understand. So,
you're blocked, but don't you say anything bad anyway, because if somebody forwards it to us, then you're in trouble. Fuck off.
It has been so funny to watch this whole situation unfold. And, and I laugh simply because we have been screaming that it was going to come to this. This is not a surprise.
Yeah, but
it
they
really is
do
not.
this in Canada, and they're trying to do it here in the States, because yesterday,
Yep.
in the White House press room, somebody was proposing shutting down that discussion that Musk and Trump were having. Asked the press secretary herself, is the president going to do anything about this? Because if there's misinformation, does he want to shut it down? Is he going to block it in some... Guy from the Washington Post is proposing censorship.
Mm-hmm. And they do it without a hint of irony.
I cannot mock this idiot enough, because
well, you can try.
His very profession hinges on the First Amendment. He's like, well, they could put out some.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear, we did lose him this time.
Oh, no, it still shows he's there. He's
is he?
quiet.
Okay.
There he is.
How about
He's
now?
back again. Yeah, you If you're on your phone, you can't touch anything, sir.
No, what happens is after 5 minutes, it goes into the screen sleeps. I guess that knocks me off.
Yeah,
Maybe that's it.
that'll do
Yeah.
That'll
I
do
hate
it.
this app. Jesus. But
Well,
when
technically,
did you-
it's not an app.
when did you
That may
lose
be
me?
part of the problem.
Oh, you were saying about that his entire profession hinges on the First Amendment.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. They are oblivious to that. Well, we don't like what they're going to say. But he was even he wasn't complaining about something said. He was complaining because he was worried something could be said. So he wanted censorship. He wanted outright. Is President going to block him? Donald Trump could say something. What's Biden going to do? I don't know. Maybe read the Constitution, dipshit.
But the Constitution does not exist for these people. The Constitution is a living, breathing document to these people. And it's subject to interpretation to these people. I mean, after all, this is why they're fighting so hard over the Second Amendment and what it's defined as. And I mean, it's literally black and white to me. I mean, I read it and I'm like, yeah, I know this is my second language and everything, but I'm pretty sure I fucking understand what the Second Amendment says. I have friends outside of the US who do not understand why people here in the United States do not understand the Second Amendment. Now, these are people who are anti-gun, mind you. And they do think that the Second Amendment should be curtailed, but it should be like there should be a law that amends the Second Amendment, right? And every single time I tell them, yeah, we can't do that because it's in the Bill of Rights. So
Aggie, it specifically says well-regulated militia, Aggie. Can you not read?
Well, all I'm saying is that, like I said, I have friends that live in other countries who don't understand why people here don't understand what it says. They understand what it says. They speak totally different languages and they understand what it says.
No,
and they cannot understand why it is that we don't care.
But they don't want to understand. Because as soon as they start reading the Second Amendment in full, they realize what they're up against. So that's when, they have to reinterpret. They were only talking about militias, and they were only talking about muskets, and they were only...
Well,
who was in the militia, dipshit? It wasn't an established
but here's the
army.
thing.
It was people with their own guns, and they were regulated by a leader.
When they go down that road about, they were talking about muskets, and I'm like, well, the First Amendment was only talking about quill and parchment then. So we need to take away the internet. We need to take away laptops. We need to take away phones. We need to take away all of those things that facilitate information.
That is the dumbest argument I've ever heard.
I know.
Because, they only had muskets back then.
Get closer to the phone.
So did the state. That's what they were writing about.
While we're on the subject, and I know it doesn't really matter now because he's taken himself out of the race, but how about a guy that used to teach constitutional seminars on the weekends in college telling people that private citizens couldn't own cannons? Because, I'm just saying. Most of the cannons used in the Revolutionary War were owned by private citizens, much like a lot of the warships.
Listen, I kid you not. My school owns a cannon, a legit cannon. Okay. And for a very long time, it was fine. She actually has a name, Spirit of O2. And everything was fine up until about 10 years ago when people started making waves about decommissioning the cannon and taking it apart and selling it for scrap. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is saying this? Why? Oh, because the school owns a cannon. And I'm like, we're not the only schools with a cannon. I know this because you see them, using cannons in, football games all the time, right? It just happens to be that ours is an actual legit cannon. So they get really upset. It's not really a cannon, but it was military artillery. So they feel that, and it's always that, they feel that is sending an inappropriate signal to younger people. And I'm like, what signal is it possibly sending? I took a picture with the Spirit of O2 twice. Once when I was a freshman in college, and the next time was a few years back. I think it was 2015, 2016, around that time frame. And I was like, not once does this make me want to like shoot people or anything like that. But now I want to own one.
Yeah.
Simply because these people have told me, oh no, you shouldn't have this kind of stuff.
What are they going to say? That a cannon is a gateway weapon?
Yes. This is a gateway. It's, pretty soon. Once you get a cannon, you're going to be scoring a Sherman tank.
Next thing you'll want weapons of war. I mean, dipshittery top to bottom with these people.
Yeah.
That's the desperation of it all. But I mean, when it comes to the First Amendment, I'm as ardent about that as I am the second. It's just, no.
It used to be
get out of here. Don't even go there. And the fact that we have people in the media that say this, it just shows you how bad the position.
What have I said? What have I said about the media? The fourth estate is now the fifth column. This is why they want to censor things. This is why they want to do away with the First Amendment for the little people, the unwashed, the people that don't belong to the media. They want that gone. They don't think it's right because they do think that this gives them an edge over people who are not part of the media.
Yeah, and you can just hit up a flagpole, right?
Well, my dad always said that the First Amendment's the mouth, but the Second Amendment's the teeth. And that's why you need to keep them nice and flossed and clean. And I'm like, are you talking about teeth or are you talking about weapons? He said both.
Exactly. It's just all right, so when that jackass in Great Britain is saying, well, you people there in the States, if you say you think a prince won't come after you, and you're extra to fuck off. Trevor. I have that same attitude here when this jackass, what was his name? Cleve Wootson from the Washington Post yesterday.
Oh,
he was the one.
Yes.
Is President Biden going to do something to stop this? Is he going to impede it? What's he going to do? Is he going to dipshit? Give me some duct tape right now. I would put it on his mouth. Shut up.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why he felt that Biden had the power to do anything. So my only guess is that he thought that basically an EO would be put out in order for this to be curtailed. And I'm like, so you're saying that the pen is okay in this case, but it's not okay when it comes to the border, that kind of thing. You can't have it both ways. They want to, but you really can't.
Well, I mean, that whole mentality is rooted in them running to the state automatically. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, what's the government going to do? Which should be the last thing on anybody's mind if they have a common sense bone in their body. It's just, well, let's see, something's going on. I need the government involved. Holy shit. Like last week, I mercilessly mocked the New York Times. They gave an editorial space to a woman. I still can't believe that this went public. I can't believe the New York Times accepted this. She tells this harrowing tale of what went on in her home. She, in one evening, had to contact the Center for Disease Control, her local law enforcement office, animal control, her personal health care provider over a calamity that happened in her home. Her word, by the way, calamity. They ended up going to the emergency room, discussing things with the doctor, and this woman and her husband eventually... Well, and they also had animal experts come in and inspect their house. And then they went to the ER and got rabies shots. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars of medical expenses they incurred. And she's saying, this is so fabulous that we were able to take care of ourselves in this country because Donald Trump would take all of this away from us. She saw a bat.
So she never touched the bat. Never.
No interaction
the bat
with
never.
the animal whatsoever. a door was open in her bedroom. A bat flew in. She woke up her husband. He bravely did nothing until the bat flew away. And that was it. They saw a bat.
They saw a bat and they went to get rabies shots, which, by the way, are very painful. And I speak from experience.
Well, I'm
also
just,
having dealt with bats.
but I'm looking at her rendition. I'm reading through this. I still can't believe I'm reading this. Like, are you an adult? You. This is like a published author, by the way. She's got 2 or 3 books on the market. The first thing they did was go on the website for the Center for Disease Control. They ran to the government because we saw a bat. What do we do? Government.
I don't, okay, forgive me, but if they only saw a bat that did not require them to get rabies shots, why did they go through that trauma?
This is the level of psychosis this woman has, though. I mean, maybe it's hypochondria or maybe it's just hyperdramia, whatever the hell you want to call it. This woman's nuts. And for them to go through all of these steps just because literally it flew in their room and it flew out. And somehow she turns this political. Thank God we have Kamala Harris to vote for because she's going to ensure that all of the support system that helped us out through this. It's like, holy living shit.
But see, that makes no sense either because that entire support system wouldn't go away just because Trump became president.
Well, that now you're going too far afield into the realm of common sense that this woman can't even find on a map. So
got it.
No. I mean, she was bringing up the 2025 project and all of this, and he has his way. This is going to be cut down, and the CDC will disappear, and 911 will no longer be operational. I mean, she's just you concoct the hysteria she had it. But this is the mentality that's out there. It's like, there's an issue. What can the government do? And that is like so far from my thinking. I mean, I live here. If a bat flew in my room, I would probably get a hockey stick.
How did this get published?
My question. It was like, who at the New York Times thought, you know what? She has a point. We should put this on our pages and enervate our reputation with her words. It's like, wow. Okay, guys.
Yeah, it has been eye-opening ever since the conversation heard around the world.
Woman, I think she embodies the broken brain that occurred following COVID, where the government just fostered nothing but panic in people. And, well, what are you going to do? Oh, yeah, we have to do this. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to report on my neighbors on your behalf.
Speaking of reporting neighbors.
Segue.
Oh, yeah. It seems like Governor Walz has more on his plate, aside from the whole stolen valor situation, where everybody has been trying to say that we're attacking his service. And no, we are not attacking his service. It's not about his service. It's about the embellishment and the outright lies that he told about his service. That's the problem that and pretty much every single vet that I know, regardless of politics, agrees that this looks horrible. This is awful. This is bad. This is really, really bad. So now, people are starting to remember during the BLM riots, Governor Walz did actually install curfews and reinforced the curfews with the state police and the NG, I believe. And, they would come down through cities to make sure that you were inside your home. Now, the weird thing was somebody had a tweet and they showed that the website had frequently asked questions. And one of the questions was, can we be outside on our porches as long as we're on our property? And it just said yes. after the incident that was captured on video, where they showed National Guard unit going down with
I have
paintball,
that video if you want it.
you can. I mean, I've seen it. I think
Okay.
everybody's seen it, but
As a because you didn't want it because I have it, but yeah, that was from Freaky
Well, I
Dead.
do just have to clarify a little bit. There's been more detail on this exposed where it turns out they were probably Antifa. They were holding up at this place because they were going to go to some regional riot or something. And I mean, I'm not justifying what the cops did because shooting people on their porch is still bullshit. But
well, that's the problem. They had gone to the website. They said, as long as you're on your porch, it's fine. You're still obeying curfew, and the NG went through and was yelling at people to get, inside their houses. Well, they didn't move fast enough, so they started shooting at them to get back in the house. And I'm like, this is beyond egregious. Now, it was improperly attributed to a COVID lockdown, but it was not. It was part of the whole BLM curfew that was put up during COVID. Okay, so the riots had started 5 days before this, and that's why. But it was during COVID, and so it's been attributed to both. But it was in part, mostly in part, due to the BLM curfew.
see, this is a funny aspect of it because Walls is on record of being
Stop moving.
in support. What?
What are you clicking?
Really? You can hear that? I was moving a cord.
Yes.
Jeez. This sucks. Fuck. I gotta go in the next room next time because this sucks. Can't believe you could hear all that. I didn't do anything.
Oh, I hear everything.
Please. Eric, sorry. Apologies.
I'm totally kidding.
Not funny.
It is to me. That's why I'm laughing.
Glad I can entertain you.
Yes, you can.
But no, it makes no sense that Walls was being that militant about the riots when he was like, yay, riots.
Yeah.
And his wife was turning on the ceiling fan so she could savor the fumes of
the fires burning. I mean,
burning Goodyear
Leaving the
tires.
windows open and cranking up the ceiling fans because she liked the smell of burning rubber.
yeah, that was. I don't understand how anybody could like that smell. It gives me a raging
So
headache.
Walls is the one that created the term that Donald Trump is weird. Your wife is psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Let's just call this what it is because this one fits. Psycho hose beast. There you go.
Yeah, sure. So, so that video has been making the rounds, and that's another facet of Waltz that a lot of people had forgotten. Because let's face it, we all have the memory of a fish when it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean, we do, and there's so much happening. There's so much information that we digest every day that stuff like that would be filed away somewhere and then we couldn't, access it. But, some vigilant person out there actually did. And so this is now making the rounds, which is another nail on that coffin. I'm not sure there are going to be enough nails, though.
That they're getting too much of this data about him. To the
Well,
point that they may end up chasing him off before the convention.
See, and it makes this entire choosing choice, I should say, even more baffling. This is stuff that could not be put away. I mean, this is stuff that was out there. It has never been taken down.
Well, it's also stuff they should have found when they were trying to vet the guy.
But I don't think they vetted him, or if they did, they accepted what he was because that's what they want. They want somebody who is very authoritarian in his outlook.
Arguably, too, they're a little bit under the gun, time-wise, so that probably was a factor playing into this. But still,
According to every source that I saw, that wasn't his that wasn't her first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth choice. He was the only one willing to sign up.
That could be a factor. I mean, we talked about it, I think, on this show. Didn't we kick around, like, did we
Yes.
handicap who the VPs would be? And I don't think he cracked our top 5 that night.
Well,
He did it was like in single-digit percentage. 4%.
Like I said, there are more issues that are coming out with Governor Walz. A lot more issues that are coming out regarding his service, conduct during his service, conduct outside of his service, conduct while he was in Congress, and conduct while he was governor of Minnesota. So it's not looking
like
good.
The media garbage when they're trying to say,
Well,
we're attacking his record. No, we're attacking.
They're trying to
what he
sell
said
this
on
guy.
the record.
They're trying to sell this guy like being more Midwestern and more in tune with the right, than
Aggie,
we
the term
are.
you're looking for is folksy.
Yeah. Okay. And so, first of all,
No, the term she's looking for is foot.
I think about 7 dozen news outlets use that specific term for him on command of the White House, or I should say the DNC. They all came out and said the same thing. No, the folksy governor from Minnesota, his folksy charm, they say.
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, he goes hunting and all this stuff, and I'm like, hunting is not a right wing thing. People from all politics go hunting. Okay. It's a lifestyle. It's not a political
anti-hunting thing. Is a left-wing thing, but that's about it. It's,
yeah.
But that's the other dose of comedy here, too, where you've got a presidential candidate who's anti-gun and her running mate who is pro-gun. Huh?
I know.
But
he's only pro-gun for certain people.
Yeah, for him.
Yeah. So,
it's kind
anyway.
of like Gretchen Whitmer with lockdowns. That's a bit of a fluid standard, too. Well, you have to stay in your house, but if my husband wants to take the boat out to the lake, that's cool.
Yeah, it's funny how Traverse City was okay and left open, but everything else in Michigan is shut down.
Nobody's allowed to travel, but I have to go see my family in Florida for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like what Rick said, though, if everybody was bowing out, all the other the primary choices for running mate, that just bolsters what I've been saying, is that the Democrats are kind of throwing in the towel on this election. That's why they went with Walz. Because they didn't want to pollute the actual people they might rely on next election. So Josh Shapiro, if he's the golden boy, they don't want him ruined this year. But at the same time, they've got the Jewish problem. So,
well, he sold out. He actually divested himself of his own.
Oh, that's right. He's no longer Jewish because he was in contention.
So I'm just like, yeah, okay, I think he's done.
But that's the funny thing is like, I say these things and I have in the back of my head a little bit of a hedge. It's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't say that. I was like, no, they said it. So, I just have that little condition. It's like, oh, do you want to say they didn't pick him because he's Jewish? Well, I'm in the clear because they said it and the press said it. So that's the hilarity of it all. Like the third rail comments that they love to trot out there. It's like, you can't say that. It's like, I'm quoting you. Oh. It is ridiculous where we're at right now.
Well, in this day and age, I'm like, I cannot wait for the next telenovela to unfold because it's coming.
It is, I swear, 2024 has been just the kind of year you can't even script it. That's how screwed it's been.
Honest to God, if somebody says, hey, this is the worst year, I'm like, no, they get progressively worse from here. I mean, we're in that downslope right now. Stacey calls it entering the fourth turning. I call it we're slipping into the trough of culture. So Most people identify that as, the whole weak men, strong men, good times, bad times thing. We're heading into the bad times, so we're
See, I'm
going to
not
be
even
down there
looking
for
at.
a while.
I don't even look at 24 as being necessarily bad or really bad. It's just bizarre. I mean,
No,
so
yeah,
much
it
has
has.
happened that
This
it's
is
just
this is an
fucking weird.
outlier year, to tell you the truth. One of the things that several friends asked me about how culture progresses, and I said, and I tell them this all the time: culture doesn't move forward; it hopscotches. It'll move to the side, it'll move back, it'll move forward a little bit, but right now we're in a backwards trend. And they asked me, it's like, how do you mean? And I said, well, for example, take the cell phone. We came up with the concept of the cell phone, and we advanced through that cell phone up until a certain point, and then we leveled off. And there were a few tweaks here and there, hey, you can fold this, screen now, or, this one you can actually use as a tablet, that kind of thing. But overall, the cell phone pretty much stayed constant. There were a few tweaks here and there. There were a few little bit of improvements, but nothing grand, nothing big. And I said, it's the same thing with culture. We advance to a certain point and then we just level off. We stagnate a bit. We start moving off to the side on something. And this is where the whole cis heteronormative kind of crap talk is coming into, where everything is being divided, everything is being redefined, everything is being, what is a woman? That kind of stuff. So we're at that point. And one of my friends was like, wow, how do you know all this stuff? And I was like, I watch people. This is what I do. I'm literally, I am Miss Marple in St. Mary Mead from the Agatha Christie novels. I sit back and I just watch everybody in town. And that's how I learn about culture. That's how I learn about human nature. And so they all think it's funny, but it's kind of true in a sad, pathetic sort of way.
Why sad?
I know. It's sad. But,
No, I'm
I'm
asking why. What makes it sad? What are you talking about?
oh, well, because Miss Marple is a tiny little spinster lady.
Okay, and
That would be me. Very tiny, very old.
well, you're tiny.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
But
there's
basically, that's why.
there's no old. What do you mean old? You're not old.
Yeah, well, older.
I mean,
But
you're
that's why I
tiny
say that.
in pictures, but you're not old. Stop it.
But okay. But anyway, like I was saying, there is that shift right now where we're falling into that trough because everything has been so dissected, so redefined, and all that stuff. And so that's why I tell people it's like it's not going to get better. This year has been a weird outlier, but it's still, everybody's like, oh, I can't wait for 2025 when things are better. No, they're not going to get better anytime soon. Just shelf that. It's not happening. You can be content with what it brings you, but it's not going to be better than the year before. That part is not, we're not there yet. We have to actually go down to the trough before we start going back up. So everybody thinks that I'm being pessimistic about this. And I said, no, this is just, if you look at our country and how we do this, we go through crests and troughs all the time. We just happen to be in a trough right now. That's all. And I tell them I'm the most optimistic person you'll find. I'm a freaking Pollyanna, okay? You know this. So yeah, so that's why I tell people, it's like, oh, you think this year is bad? No, just wait till the next one. But the good news is that they won't all be bad. We're just gonna, there's a couple of years down the road, things are gonna start going back up, because you're seeing that push already.
Over all of the stuff that were standards that are blown out of the water now. So like you mentioned,
yes, and that's
men and women are no longer a defined concept. Oh,
no,
okay.
But
Harvard
you see, there's a
is
pushback.
no longer the most esteemed college on the planet. It's become a laughing stock. our presidency is basically, the guy's out of commission and nobody seems to care. Not to mention he dropped out of the election. And I mean, it's just, one after the other. And it's almost to the point that we're normalizing surreal nature of things. I don't understand when it's going to stop.
Well, like I said, I tell people, it's like, don't worry, there's a pushback that is starting to occur. And you see it in the most unlikely places. Right now, you're seeing Britain burning down. That's a pushback. People are starting to push back against a certain.
Well, it's happening in Ireland too. They're
Ireland.
A bunch of
when you see the Catholics and the Protestants in Ireland team up, you know that there's something weird going on. Okay, I mean,
it's like
that blew my mind.
People in Ireland, and I was like, oh geez, which side is pissed off? Oh, both of them.
Yeah, that kind of blew my mind. I was just like, what just happened? Am I seeing this correctly? I kept watching that video, looking for AI, because there was no freaking way I was going to believe this. But sure enough, it was real.
Yeah, just when Protestant and Catholics are like, I'm saving it too, mate. Let's go.
But you see, you're starting to see that pushback. You see it in Virginia with the paper ballot initiative. You see it, and that's just for the elections, just one example. You see it in Georgia where they're now saying, hey, we need to do this and blah, 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 blah. You see it in several countries where they're going, yeah, we cannot condone transing kids, and we're stopping that right now. You see it over here where the Academy for Plastic Surgeons, who is one of the biggest, medical groups, has absolutely come out against transitioning children. And now that happened, watch for others to start coming down too.
Yeah, and I don't think I need to tell this to our listeners because I'm pretty sure they're all of the same mindset. But I mean, when you reach this level of bizarre, then pushing back against it becomes that much easier. And I'm going back to that jackass in Britain saying he's going to extradite me if I put something on social media.
He can fucking come here and try. I welcome the chance. We're talking, y'all, this is what the redcoats are coming. That's what this is. And I cannot, for one, just wait until the redcoats arrive at my door. I really can't.
Hey, like you were stepping on my comment and everything now?
No way.
What I was trying to say before I was interrupted. No, I mean, I'm pointing at that, though, because that's a visceral reaction. Like, fuck you. But that's taking place now here, stateside. Yes, so when this dipshit at the Washington Post proposes for censorship, sit the fuck down, you asshole. I mean, that's literally where I'm at anymore. It's not, anger, kicking over chairs and throwing bar stools. It's like, no, shut up.
But you know what upset me was that he got no pushback from the press there either.
What?
They were quite content with that.
The White House press room is a hive mind. I mean, with the exception of the two people from Fox News, that's about it. Oh, no, there's one from Newsmax, too, that's willing to say everything. But everybody else is just like, we don't want to upset Karine. And even when they challenge her, they know they're supposed to ask a question that's tough. They'll ask it of her. She gets mealy mouthed, and then they'll be like, well, I guess that's it. They don't push. They don't challenge. Yeah, they don't force an issue of any sort.
There's no follow-up, yeah.
Every so often you'll get one that's like, holy crap, dude, that was a real question. Way to go. Go, keep going. He's like, I'm done. I'm good. It's like, watch Doocy, okay? He'll show you how to do it. Like, Doocy doesn't let go, and he does it with a smile on his face half the time. He's almost laughing. He's like, wait a second. So if the president said this, then, that's a follow-up. That's how you do it. And nobody else in that room really wants to. And it's needed. And so this kind of crap, like Tim Walz, I'll look him in the eye and call him a dumb son of a bitch. And I'm not questioning his record. Yeah, you served for 24 years. Great. You did good work. It's what came out of your mouth that's the problem, jackass.
Well, I don't. I'm not denigrating his service, and Lord
Nobody
knows I have
is. That's the thing.
plenty. But
I
no,
haven't.
But there is
Not
a
a single
difference
person
between.
has.
But there is a difference between serving in the National Guard and serving active duty. So, you know, when they say he served for 24 years, a lot of people are not aware that in order to retire with full benefits from the National Guard, you have to serve 30, not 20.
Yeah,
So,
because much of it's
so
part time.
yeah, because much of it is part time. And so, a lot of people are like, 24 years, that's a long time. It is. It is a long time. But when you think about the fact that that was not his main job, he wasn't there 24/7. You start saying, okay, it was a long time, but it was kind of like a side hustle for him, while not I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying it's great that he did that, because at the same time he was teaching, he was doing this, he was doing that. So um, but I do have to correct the record somewhat when people push 24 years versus however long it was that Vance served, and I'm like, you cannot compare the two. You just can't.
No, and I also want to go over the argument about whether he quit or he retired. That's the other thing that the media wants to hang on. It's like, he didn't quit. He put in for retirement. He didn't quit. Okay. Actual retirement, if he went his full route, it would have gone to 30 years and expired, and he could have walked away. He put in
Correct.
for a retirement, i.e., quit. It wasn't like the contract was over. Okay, good.
No,
Handshake, walk away.
He actually still had 2 years left in his contract, and
the other thing is, they knew ahead of time that he was being sent out.
This is what I don't.
Notices had gone out the previous February. He quit in February. He
before then. It was actually before then.
No, he put in
that
he put in his retirement. I think it was 04 February, but they had been notified of deployment in February of 03.
Yeah. So
so he knew.
And this is something that a lot of people don't know. When it comes to a deployment, having been involved with the spousal side of it, when a deployment happens, it's not a 1 day to the next thing, or even a 1 week to the next thing. There are months that you have to prepare. You have to train your service members to go on this deployment. You have to get all of the equipment ready. You have to get all of the vehicles ready. You have to logistics, supply, transportation, all of these things have to coordinate with each other. And it is very rigorous, and it is a day-to-day thing that you are constantly making sure that everything is, squared away and all that stuff. Meanwhile, the spouses are over here making sure that the families are prepared for this deployment. We have to make sure that the kids are taken care of. We have to make sure that the spouses have the support. We start signing them up for the Army Readiness Group or the Air Force Readiness Group, whichever branch you happen to be serving in. If they cannot stay on base, or if they're living off base and their spouse is moving into a deployment overseas for whatever reason, and they don't want to stay, we make the arrangements for them to go back to live with a family member. We help them to move. We help them to do all of these things. It's a constant thing. It honestly, when they say, "Oh, we're getting deployed," it's not a month thing. There are very few people in the military that can do that. I can only think Delta is the only one that I can think of that can do it, within a week. But that's because that's a very special group of individuals. Same thing for
Black
no,
Ops.
Not even the
It would be for Black Ops. Like if they're
yeah, and
on
so
a mission.
So for them to say that, he put in his paperwork and then they deployed 2 months later, I'm going, so he basically had at least 6-8 months knowledge then. And they're like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, do y'all have any idea how military works?
Here's the other issue with him. it gets into the valor aspect of it. When he got out of the National Guard, he went right into politics. Democrats recruited him. They wanted to bring him in. He was campaigning while still in the National Guard, and in his promotional literature was talking about his deployment, knowing full well he wasn't going because he had already put in for his retirement.
Right. So
This is what kind of jackass he is.
Exactly.
And vote for me. Hopefully I can serve you if I don't get deployed. Because I'm going. And he knew he was out. That's the kind of guy he is. Okay, it has nothing to do with his service. Again, his words, what he says, is the problem.
It pisses a lot of people off that were involved with the military, both as National Guard members and as active duty members, as spouses of each, because they've had to deal with, the consequences of a deployment. They've had to deal with, and when I say deployment, I don't just mean, going to a war zone. I mean, sometimes they'll send a National Guard unit from one state to another to help during the time of stress, a hurricane, a tornado, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, that kind of thing, and the families have to deal with the separation and all that stuff. And for them, to see now what this guy had been saying all along is a complete and total fabrication, it's an affront. It really is. Vets don't take this lightly. And like I said, I keep telling people, this is not about politics. This has nothing to do with politics. And if you're injecting politics into this, then the problem is with you. Because
the thing is, he's the one that politicized it.
Yeah, and some of his supporters are politicizing it as well. And I'm like, this isn't about politics. When you boil everything down, what he did was wrong. End of discussion. There is no way to save face at all. And they're trying. And I'm like, no.
Well, look at the way the media is trying to diminish J.D. Vance and his service, who actually was in Iraq. And they're okay, he was in Iraq, but he didn't really fight.
Oh, he was in communications. And I'm like,
okay. So he was actually in Iraq, and that's not good. Also, J.D. Vance is not the one overselling his record. In fact, in his book, he even said, I never saw fighting. I was lucky. That's the polar opposite. The guy was in Iraq and never bragged about it.
But here's the thing. To diminish...
Though, they're not only denigrating him as a soldier, they're denigrating him as a journalist. Because his job was in communications over there. And one of the jobs he had is ushering journalists around inside of hot zones so they could report on what's happening.
We have that particular MOS actually is tasked with escorting journalists into hot zones and into embeds. And, they're not only just tasked with escorting them there, they're tasked with protecting them.
Sure.
And some have lost their lives doing so. And
Larry O'Connor has detailed one of the women that were killed over there, that she had his exact job. She was in a Humvee escorting, I think it was Newsweek and one other outlet. And her truck got hit with an IED. While the journalists were behind and unaffected.
It is, in my opinion, this whole chapter in his life that he has fabricated because, lack of a better term, I'm lied. Okay. But I think he also fabricated it because he embellished so much of it to make him look like such a hero. And it wasn't necessary. No. It wasn't necessary at all. And I think that's what really upsets everyone.
Well, that's the thing, is he really oversold it all. I mean, there were times when, and it wasn't just one time either. That's the issue.
No, it was over and over and over. So
it was over the years. I saw an interview where the guy he was speaking with said, and you served in Iraq, and there he was nodding his head instead of correcting. And Bloomberg just did it a couple weeks ago, or last week. Had to fix the story twice. 2 separate times because of what they said. Same guy did a biography on him in 2006. And back then said he served in Iraq. Never did. And on and on. And all he had to do was come out and was like, hey, this Bloomberg piece came out. I know I technically put it in Iraq. And that's the thing.
And the problem with what he did is that the thing is, it's this, all of this stuff is public record. It was easy to check. So for him to embellish, he had to have thought that he was a protected commodity, because I cannot, for the life of me, I just can't understand why he would take that chance, being so prominent in the political stage. First as a serving in Congress and now serving as a governor of the state of Minnesota. So anyway, enough about that shiny turd. I don't know what to call it. We do have some news out that are kind of on the weird and sketchy side. How's the airmail going?
Just leap right into that, huh?
Yes. Well, I go to the post office a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm going to the post office this week to mail out some rocks. There's a shock.
True. Well, I don't know. This is a story that might have people questioning the practice of licking stamps.
Wow, you did that. Ew. Gross. Oh, no.
Well, I have no idea how else to approach such a topic, I guess. Because it is just that much out there now, starting with the fact we're in Japan. You already know something.
Yes.
Something could be off balance here. So Japanese scientists.
You can't.
I really don't know what's going on over there, but apparently, is breeding mice that difficult? Because I thought in science it was kind of a standard, right? Aren't they available by the gross?
I would have thought that this was not going to be an issue, but upon reading the article, one of the issues that was pretended, they wanted to send some of mouse sperm up in space so that they could breed mice up there.
Well, okay,
and study the effects of space radiation on mice. But they need a large quantity of mouse sperm. And it was in vials. And because it was going up into space, they needed to cushion it a lot. So they couldn't send a lot of mouse sperm. I cannot believe I'm talking about this stuff right now.
Well, let me take over since you seem to be struggling here.
I can't.
The study is this. Japanese scientists have tried mailing freeze-dried mouse sperm on a postcard. And as the clickbait article states, here's what they discovered.
Please do tell. What did they discover?
Well, as you hinted at, they don't have to worry about bottles of mouse sperm breaking any longer. They've developed a new way to freeze-dry the sperm on a plastic sheet, and then the samples can withstand being mailed on a postcard, which allows for mouse sperm to be transported easily, inexpensively, and without the risk. I'm sure that's something that has prevented people from mailing mouse sperm. I want to, but it's just so damned expensive.
I cannot. I totally applaud the new, the scientific breakthrough of being able to do this, because it is, they freeze dry it and then they reconstitute it and it is viable. They have bred mice with this frozen mouth sperm.
I just enjoyed the fact that in this article there's a photo of ostensibly a scientist leafing through an 8-ring binder, and all the pages have little white squares on them with notations.
I mean, yeah, and I'm just like, but I mean, it is a remarkable breakthrough to be able to do this. Um, I can see them having this as an application for sperm banking as well. I can see it, once it's developed to that point. Right now, I believe it's still in a rough stage, but sending it through the mail in a postcard, and I'm like, I mean, who receives this? I'm just like, what?
Well,
and let me tell you, when I travel, I love to send postcards. Now I'm going to have huge thoughts about doing this.
So, like, the kid will go out to the mailbox. Hey, we got a postcard. Give me that. No.
I'll send you guys a postcard. With a little packet taped to it.
Hey, look what they sent us from the lab.
But yeah, I just thought that it was a rather interesting development. I mean, it's a remarkable breakthrough to be able to do something like this and have it once you reconstitute it, have it be viable enough that you can breed.
But why the male? Why the male?
Well, my guess is that
they wanted to figure out if the sperm could still be potent after being mailed tens of miles. What does that have to do with space?
Absolutely nothing. But whatever.
They were able to mail the mouse sperm from the sperm book as postcards by attaching a plastic sheet to the postcard with no protection. Wow. There you go.
Okay. Has no one ever mailed? I mean, these people, does nobody ever mail anything anymore? I mail things all the time. I have to mail a card tomorrow, and I mail letters to my parents all the time. I keep up my Spanish and my cursive by writing a lot. So things get stuck. I mean, eventually, and damaged at the post office, when they're sorting the mail and all that stuff, bent and scratched and, torn and all that stuff. And I mean, without any protection. And I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of segue, Dateline, Canberra, Australia. There was a problem with one of the local health organizations in the province. They had to send out apologies to people. They were distributing condoms and found out they weren't. Instead, they had distributed ultrasound probe covering.
Oh my God. What? So basically, ultrasound condoms were sent out instead of actual prophylactics.
Yeah, so now they probably will have a need for an ultrasound pretty soon.
Oh,
as a result of this. The products have similar packaging and the appearance of the condoms, but they do not provide the same level of protection against pregnancy.
I'm sure that about 9 months from now, there's going to be a few lawsuits against the government of Canberra. I can't wait to see what happens.
And then just to put a bow on this story, where they distributed, the subheadline is Dixon College is among the schools that were impacted by this mistake.
Oh, no.
So I think everything is in proper order as far as that story goes. Well done, everybody.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So
Well, let's see. What else we got here?
well,
An update
but
on the something to make us look brilliant, because we're always accurate on this program and should be impressed with such. What did we just talk about last week regarding the Olympics?
God, what did we cover with the Olympics?
Oh man, all kinds of crap. But one of them, I was noting that so many participants in the Olympics actually reside or go to school here in the United States.
Yes.
Participate in other countries. Like there was one guy, and we had a small family party Saturday, so they had the basketball game on. Whatever, okay. And one of the players for the United States, every time he went to the foul line, the whole stadium would start booing. I was like, but wait, his name doesn't have boo in the pronunciation. What's going on? Like, this guy, I guess, was born in France, but he plays in the NBA now. And said, well, I live in the States. I play for a team. I'm a dual citizen. I'm American. So France was pissed off about that.
Yeah. He's. I don't think that he will be having dual citizenship
No.
after this, but which is kind of weird because it used to be that you could have dual citizenship until the age of 18. Whereupon you had to choose, because if you did not choose France, then you had to do away with your because if you kept it, that means you had to serve 2 years in the French army or whatever in the military. As a matter of fact, my ex-boyfriend from high school had dual citizenship, and his mother was French. And so they were visiting the summer that he had turned 18, and they had to sneak them out of the country because the government found out that my boyfriend was 18 years old and they were coming to conscript them. This was back in the summer of 83. So yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah, well, those French weren't none the happier about that decision. But
I'm sure.
On that note, when I was pointing out that, I was like, a lot of them play for colleges. That's when they get most of their training that way. They do a lot of the prep work and they qualify for the Olympics as a result. Well, found this little Newsweek came up with this one. NCAA athletes collected 66 total medals for countries other than the United States, which means if the NCAA was measured as a country, would have had the third highest medal count for the Olympics.
Wow. That's impressive.
Let's see. NCAA boasts more than 1,000 former, incoming, or current NCAA student athletes compared to Paris this summer. I think Stanford had the most medals with 34, 36, something like 3 dozen from Stanford alone.
The school that has a tree for a mascot and a color for a name? Seriously?
Yeah, apparently they're big on swimming and crap like that, I guess.
All right, fine, whatever. More power to them. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
All right, and then I guess we could close out on the science front here.
Oh, I still have a good one, though. Don't forget.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll be brief. How about that? Well, recently, as you might recall, we had the grand scientific discovery that technicians were pulling gold out of electronic units using cheese.
Yes, using the cheese method.
On that note, researchers trying to better understand the physics behind nuclear fusion. There's been working on this problem, trying to stabilize it and trying to get structural integrity of fusion capsules and such for inertial confinement fusion.
I think Brad's phone went to
I
sleep
think
again.
we lost him again.
Son of a piece of God damn it. Hey guys, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Son of a right, where did you lose me?
Hey, wait, are we sure this is Brad? That sounded remarkably like Yosemite Sam.
You were about to expound on the new use for something.
Okay. So they're still working on the problem. It's a structural integrity of fusion capsules used in inertial confinement fusion. And so what's helping them in the search for that solution? Hellman's Real Mayonnaise. I mean, this cutting edge scientific groundbreaking research, mayo. I don't. Does Duke's not cut it? I mean, what?
Maybe they got a deal on it. Maybe it was on sale. I don't know.
I mean, I suppose you probably got to be brand specific. Otherwise, you might have a Miracle Whip meltdown. See what I did there?
I see that. That's beautiful.
So yeah, a sandwich spread is helping us with nuclear fusion because why not? Everything else makes perfect sense this year. Let's just keep that trend going.
Oh my goodness. I just, what's next? What are we doing with lard? Because lard has to be next.
I'm going to say something to do with Crisco and hydrogen powered vehicles.
Okay. All right. Put that on your bingo card. Anyway, for
Well,
me,
what is your item?
Everybody knows how I feel about the British Museum by now.
Love
and if you
them.
don't, you know that I feel that they should be burned to the ground. But
totally my faves. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
They're in trouble.
Go on.
Yes, they're in trouble. Apparently, they found themselves after a huge audit in trouble with the UK because they apparently broke a very serious law. Yeah, so to catch y'all up on what's going on over there, about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, they actually they came out and admitted that about 2,000 items in their catalog have gone missing. And the curator and the board actually admitted that they're pretty much unrecoverable because they were sold for scrap or defaced or, parts of it were stolen. And so because of that, they decided to do an internal audit, and they found that they had not been compliant with a very important piece of British legislation, which dictates how national treasures should be kept. Now, everybody knows every single country has its own set of laws when it comes to antiquities, when it comes to museums and their catalogs and everything that they hold in storage and whatnot. But the UK has a very strict law, okay? The reason for that law is to actually assuage other countries who are still pretty salty about the fact that the British Museum has stuff of theirs, okay? That's one of the reasons this law is very strict and everything. They have to meet certain standards of preservation. They have to meet certain standards for access to these, antiquities and to everything that's in their catalog. And a very high standard of professional care. And not only that, the staff that's in charge of these things has to be highly qualified to take care of these things. So if you don't follow this law, your shit could actually be seized and put into the National Archives. You could lose everything in the museum. It goes to the National Archives. But this is the British Museum, so we all know that that's not going to happen, right? So, yeah, I believe me, I'm still hoping, but it's a very, very tiny hope. So it turns out that the former chancellor and a former chairman of the trustees of the British Museum, George Osborne, they were talking about that there were a number of actions that are being considered to, by the management to work with the National Archives towards complete compliance of that. Well, that's kind of like putting the cart in front of the horse. So they're guessing that they have about 1,500 items that were actually stolen, and about between 300 and 400 objects that had parts removed, like the actual gems or gold or important pieces of vellum or something from a reliquary or whatever. However, with the help of the FBI of all people, they have recovered about 600 of the objects so far, which is more than they thought that they would get back, right? Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but last year in July, the senior curator of the British Museum was fired because they accused him of stealing like 1,800 items or something like that during the whole of a decade. So this is aside of the ones that they're missing now. Okay, this is all completely different from what they're missing now. And, he's denied that he stole them or anything. He has not been charged, by the way, but the museum is thinking about suing him this year. And so I'm sitting here going, how freaking hypocritical are you? You go around the world stealing everything that's not nailed down, and some that is nailed down. The Elgin marbles come to mind. But this guy, you have nothing on him. You cannot prove it. You cannot charge him with anything. So you're going to sue him? For what? You already fired him. He's got no money.
The other problem is when you take him to trial, you're going to have to prove that the stuff you stole is your
exactly. The onus is on him to prove that he is innocent. This is Britain, after all. So, but I do find it interesting that the British Museum was not in compliance with a law that was enacted to protect the British Museum, by the way. So I find that extremely hilarious, and I'm going to be reading about this to see where it leads. But that's not the only museum story, believe it or not. It turns out, I guess everybody heard that Taylor Swift's concerts in Austria were canceled. And so a lot of people from all over the world were left without the possibility of watching the mega star and so they were bereft. So the city of Vienna took it upon itself to actually, with the cooperation of a lot of the museums in the city, and believe it or not, there's a lot of museums in Vienna. I know, because I've gone to a few and they're absolutely fabulous. With the cooperation of the museums, they opened the doors to all of the tourists that were in town for the Taylor Swift concerts. And if you had your Taylor Swift concert ticket, you got in for free. And so a lot of these people went there, and instead of piping usually Viennese waltz, and classical music throughout the museums. They were actually piping Taylor Swift songs to make them feel more like they were at a concert or something. And so they opened up the doors to all of the museums, to all of the tourists that were in town for the Taylor Swift concert, so that they would not feel like they missed out on anything. And from all accounts, everybody was like, this has been such a great thing to do, because I'm going to a museum I never thought I would go see, So that was kind of a cool thing that happened because of that. I still don't have any information on what happened with the whole Taylor Swift concert cancellation situation. What is that?
I heard there was like a terror threat.
No, I'm talking about you.
What?
Whenever you were just moving, we could hear it. That's what she's saying.
Oh, I wasn't.
Well, there was something going on. Anyway, but that's it for me and my museum stories of the evening. So I guess we should wrap up. Come back to the phone and tell us where we can find you.
I've been on the phone the whole time.
Yeah, but far away from it.
It sounds like you've been up pacing the floor or something. Weird.
I don't know. It's the last time I'm doing this, though. That's all I know.
I mean, you have such a nice, fancy setup, and then you don't.
Yeah, I know. When I've got a teacher going to bed in the office at 8:30, so this is the bane of my existence. I know.
All right. Well, Brad, that's fine. Where can we find you?
Well, I am available on a daily basis at townhall.com with my media column called Rift from.
Hello?
Riff
I lost him
from
again.
Brad, bye-bye.
Turn your phone back on. Maybe I should go.
Yeah, why don't you go and we'll see if we can get
All
you
right. Okay. Well, you can find me at Aggie Chicken and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, doing the Cocktail Lounge. Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, doing He Said, She Said with our awesome producer, Rick. And last Wednesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern, the guys get together for Toxic Masculinity, where we host a Babe of the Month, and I bring the drink of the evening. And last but not least, first Monday of every month, Jeff and I get together and do Spirited Books, which is our book podcast. And that's also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is, Aggie time. So our next installment will be next month. And I guess that's it for me. And I don't know where Brad is.
He should be back right about now. Maybe.
Maybe.
Brad, are you back?
I don't think so.
He's not back.
All right.
So I don't have it memorized the way Brad does, but I think I can run through
Well,
most of his.
yeah, I think you can find him
He's
right
on
here at the
Town
Cocktail
Hall,
Lounge.
He's on Red State. He does the Cocktail Lounge. He does over here. He also does 2 shows every other Thursday. He does Disasters in the Making. The opposite Thursdays, he does the Culture Shift. And for anything Town Hall and Red State related, just go check out their website because I don't have that stuff memorized.
Yeah, you can check out. You can find him at Martini Shark, and you can on his bio he's got all of the stuff that where you would find him. Anyway,
And for all the new people checking us out, I would say I promise it's not usually a train wreck, but this is live radio.
Yep. Good night, everybody. Raise a glass and look at the ceiling.
I thought we were going to get away from that this time. Stop freaking people out about the cobweb. Say goodnight.